So, John Romero created some excitement since we're talking about Doom, releasing some new WAD files, some new levels that replaced old levels in the classic Doom. This is an unprecedented move to me to see a game that's, how old is Doom? Over 20 years now? That it's still being supported by the original developer with new content that's like free content. You don't even have to pay for it, which in this damn time is like, crazy. But he released first he released a level, episode 1, map 8, which he called E1M8B, and then he released E1M4B. They were both fantastic levels. We played through them. There was a lot of excitement about these releases, which is only going to benefit Bethesda, I'm sure, just by raising Doom awareness. But I mean, they were great levels, and they really, to me, highlighted the lack of good design sense in modern first-person shooters. Playing these games, I mean, I play Doom, but I don't play Doom like all the time, But it was just an exciting thing for retro gaming in general to see these new maps.
So I just want to correct one thing you said, because
Okay.
yes, the original developer supported it, and that John Romero was one of the original developers. But the original developer, id or Bethesda, it's not something that they produced to do the longevity of the increase the longevity of the product.
Yeah.
But I remember, it just reminds me of years ago when they released the game Zork Grand Inquisitor, which was a graphical game. The Activision at the time actually commissioned, I think it was Mark Blank and Michael Berlin, to write a text adventure that they released for free on the internet to increase hype for the graphical Zork game, to get the old guys interested. It would have been really smart if Bethesda had actually done that in this case, and paid John Romero to write these levels. And actually, that was my first reaction when I saw it: is did he get paid to do it? Given the fact that Doom is about to come out, it would have made sense for them to pay him. I'm guessing I have no knowledge either way. I'm guessing at this point that's not the case. Probably he was trying to increase excitement for his own product, his own Kickstarter that was coming out. But either way, definitely a good move.
So that was it. I mean, the level of excitement for the E1M8B was incredible, and it's great. It's a great map. I really love it. Playing it on ultraviolence is extremely intense. It feels like the last level should be, because if you play Doom all the time on ultraviolence, I have been for 20 years, and first episode is actually really easy, really easy. You can just, before you know it, half hour, you're done with it. And so it's good to know, it's good to have those levels. The E1M8B is extremely challenging, and it's very clever. It uses some tricks, when you sort of you run across the pit, Super Mario style, and don't fall. It's not overly reliant on monster traps. There's one big one near the end that's just is incredibly scary. It comes out of nowhere. That's a very good one. Generally, monster closets are not, especially large ones, are not a good idea in Doom levels. But the way he uses them is really smart. So. And it's a really good-looking level as well, right from the get-go. That's why it doesn't work with the vanilla version of Doom, because it has too many line depths. It just crashes. But even though it relies only on shareware Doom's resources.
What's funny is Doom tends to get a bad rap with people who don't understand it, which is a lot of people, as being this run-and-gun action game that's no more complicated than that. And what's fascinating about these new levels is they highlight the level of puzzle solving that you can have in this game, and how there was a lot of that in the original game too, but I got kind of caught up in E1M4 in that one area with the upraise thing and the things that came up, and it was pretty sophisticated, almost adventure game like, almost, not quite.
No,
puzzle.
Doom is fairly complicated. And first of all, like, yes, now it's a run and gun shooter, right? But 20 years ago, it was a legit horror game. You know, you played it with your arrow keys and you one hand on the space and the control, and you couldn't see anything. You would go around the corners slowly. Now you just like always run on and just because you know it's not the same anymore. But like Doom was a legit like puzzle horror action game. Like it was Aliens, you know, so all in one.
So, can I ask you guys a question in the vein of what Joel said about the, how complex it was? What do you guys think if, let's say, instead of John Romero, it would have been John Carmack who would have come back and put in a Doom level, or even anybody else from id? Do you think there would have been? Do you think there would have been the same level of excitement, or anywhere near the same level of excitement? I'll tell you, for my opinion,
No.
for Carmack, I would say for sure not. For some of the other ones, maybe. But I mean, in my mind, John Romero and to some extent Tom Hall were like the soul of this game.
Well, John Romero is synonymous with Doom. I mean, Doom made it. You know, it was his calling card. So like it's his baby. Essentially, when people say Doom, they mean John Romero. And John Romero did make except for one, all of the levels of the first of the shareware game, the ones that everybody's familiar with.
Right, but my point is that there's a lot of people that collaborated, not a lot, but there's definitely a fair number of people that collaborated to make this game and make it the game that it was. But then you have a question of what really made it a classic game? Was it the engine? Was it the graphics? Was it the gameplay? Was it the level design?
Right.
There was a fusion of different things, obviously.
Right, it's collaboration. Yeah.
Right, but like let's say Carmack would have come back and said, here's an engine upgrade for Doom. It's going to run like double resolution now. That would have been cool, but I don't think it would have generated the same level of excitement as we got a new level with new level design by John Romero and all that. I mean, it's just, to me, that's the key here. That's not here, but that's the key of that game in terms of the longevity of it. It wasn't just fun for 5 seconds. It was really fun to go through all the levels and see all the secrets and solve all the puzzles and the surprises and everything. To me, that's what made it a great game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. No, levels is what I sort of still long for. Like the classic sort of like abstract levels of the 90s is what I long for to come back in a way. And nobody does it better than John Romero. As those last two levels just released just show how much you sort of miss that. I mean, the M4 is a lot easier than M8, obviously. And it's actually almost completely reliant on monster closets, surprisingly. Thing that normally you're not supposed to do, but for some reason it just works. It's also linear enough. I also like how he sort of he saw people jump a lot in E1M8 because in Doom there was no jumping. Nowadays everybody just jumps forward. And I just disabled it in mine. But there was no areas to jump in E1M4. In fact, like he actually made sure in some of those areas, like the ceiling was always right above you, so even if you were to jump, you wouldn't like fall or anything. I thought that was pretty funny. But I did really like that level because the way it builds, it's like very linear, and then you hit the point and it just like starts clearing. There's this tiers, like you go around on like an elevated platform as more enemies would be like leveled in, like lowered into on the platform. I think it's all very clever. That's what I miss. Like I miss simple FPS design like that. Well, I mean simple, simplistic technically, but like you just use those tools to craft that very sort of like intense experience. Because there's like a lot of those like oh shit moments in both of those new levels, and they work perfectly. Plus, you never run out of ammo, right? That's the thing. Very important things to keep in mind. Like you play something like Final Doom, and you're like, what's going on? Wow, I'm out of ammo. I'm back to pistol and the thing. And it's like those levels are perfect. Like he gives you all the weapons before he prepares you. He gives you a rocket launcher. He gives which is like a part of the trap because you pick it up and there's instantly an enemy behind you. I feel that's a bit of a cheap move because you turn around and like you first. There's also a Spectre that runs up. So like you're likely to hit a Spectre with a rocket and kill yourself. But it's cool to have that linear experience, and linear is not, nowadays everything is open world, right? There's a big thing in the open world and maybe even procedural generation. And I think shooters are worse off because of that. It's better to craft that very precise experience, and maybe it's not going to vary so much for different players, right? Because it's so linear. But it's intense. I was playing it, and I've been playing Doom for 20 years, right? It was cool for me to experience something new that's still adheres to classic rules. You know, like modern Doom WADs use a lot of modern source force capabilities, so they sort of forego those limitations. But it's nice to have a WAD that sort of complies with those, and it still works very, very well if you know what you're doing.
And I think you have to. I mean, you have the difficulty you pointed out. You know, there's the surprises and it's hard, but it's fair. It gives you like the weapons you need. Nowadays there's so many mods for Nintendo games where they have like new Mario. I mean, Mario Maker by itself, but aside from that, people make cartridges and Mario games, things like that. And I always see like the same thing where it's like the guy's like running to make a big jump, and then he jumps and like he hits his head on an invisible block, and then he falls to the hole. Like it's so freaking cheap.
It's artificially difficult.
Exactly.
As opposed to being naturally difficult. What I really like about like E1M4 is that the map sort of this is how you can tell like a map. There's two ways you can tell a masterful level designer. One, if you get done with it and you're like just almost dead and you have very little resources left, that's how you know it's like well tuned. And also the map sort of unfolds itself like an origami piece. Like you start off in sort of a limited area, and then the map just unfolds itself as you go along until you end up with a fairly wide open space at the end of it that reveals itself piece by piece.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Genius, man.
And it was very, very. It's like the opposite of E1M8, which had those sections that were locked up, that were separate from each other, almost as islands that you would gradually unlock. E1M4 is half of it you spend in that one space that just keeps changing. I thought that was very clever, very cool.